Hi everyone, Julie here. If you're new, welcome. This week's video, I'm going to dive into Luminar Neo. So I haven't done anything in Neo for a while, so I thought I would jump in with a couple of images from a recent photo shoot that I did with David Kennedy, and we would have a little play with some presets, adding some atmosphere, and maybe doing something with this sky. As you can see in this photo here, this was at sunset. We didn't get much of a sunset at all. I had some beautiful light, but we didn't really have anything happening with the sky. It did pop a little bit later, but we'd already moved into the studio by that stage. So it's the luck of the draw. You can't always get everything perfect when you want it. So I thought for this I would jump into Luminar Neo. As I said, let's have a little look at some sky replacement and some other things. So let's jump in. So I started off by bringing the images in, and I just grabbed a few images from this set, and I'm going to work with probably a couple. Let's start looking at some presets. So if you're new to If you're new to Luminar Neo, there's a couple of different ways that you can edit your images. You can, of course, jump straight into edit and you can do everything that you want. But if you have made your own presets, or you've purchased your own presets, or you can use the preloaded presets, and you can do some pretty quick edits to some images, especially if you've made your own presets and you want to apply it to more than one image in a series. That's a really quick and easy way to batch edit your images. But I'm just going to do a standalone image for the moment. So we've got scenery, we've got easy landscape, overcast. That could be something that we could look at, and it was overcast, so that could be a good place to start. And you just need to sort of scroll over them when they load. So mystery is quite nice. It is black and white, and that's not what I'm looking for. So then you've got backlit clouds. There's a few different ones there. Nothing grabs my fancy. Then we've got easy landscapes. It just takes a bit to load. That sunset's quite nice. It has everything that just sort of pops. Clean light. I do quite like that sunset, so I'm just going to favourite that for the moment and remember to come back to it. And then we have actual sunsets that we can have a look at. So another black and white one. This is a lovely sort of vintage film look, if you're into that. This one, Toscana's actually got a sky replacement in it as well, so don't really like that. But I did really like that sunset one, so I'm going to apply that. Now, of course, I can drop that back if I wish to, but I'm going to leave it there. Then I can head over and start having a play in edit. So I can add some different layers and things like that if I wish to. I can go into masking and things like that, but I'm not going to do that just at the moment. I'm just going to go back to tools. Okay, so I can crop from here if I wish to, and I may come back and do that later. So I'm just going to go into Enhance to start with, and I can do a little bit of Accent AI, and I can look at maybe doing a little bit of Sky Enhancer. It is bringing out some of the clouds a little bit, but not as much as I had hoped. So I'm going to go into Sky AI and look at doing sky replacement. So it has made some recommendations. So it has suggested 2 cloudy sky ones, which I could go with. Okay, so it's done that, but it don't really love what it's done around his face here. So I'm going to go into the brush and make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to be honest here, I did take a little bit of a break and I started playing around with some different skies and different masking. I tried the brush, I even went into the new AI mask and the object selection mask, and it didn't matter what I did, it did a really crappy job of the sky, especially around the trees and around his face. It didn't matter what I did, I just couldn't get rid of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bail on sky replacement in this image. I'm just going to come back and I am going to hit discard edits. And I'm going to go back to my presets and I'm going to put that sunset one in, but I'm going to give up on sky replacement. For whatever reason on this image, it's just not working. Why do I persevere with this video? Because I want to show you that you can still create beautiful, gorgeous backlighting even without using the sky replacement. So I'm going to head back into my enhance and I'm going to do a little bit of an enhance and a sky enhance. I'm going to skip the sky replacement. And I'm just going to go in and start playing around with other things. There was a little bit of noise, so I'm just going to do a bit of a denoise here. And I'm going to go into my develop module. I'm going to bring my highlights down a little bit, which has brought out a little bit more detail in my sky. But if I go over to sun or to my landscape panel, I can have a look at doing things like the twilight enhancer. So I'm going to play around with that. It's way too much. So I'm going to bring that back. Maybe golden isn't what I want. Maybe I want to have a look at blush. Or emerald, which isn't bad. Mauve, which is quite nice. That's actually brought out more detail in the sky. It's added a little bit of pink. Let's have a little look at blue while we're here, which is, I actually kind of like the mauve, although it has still done some weird things with the tree. So if I have a look before, it was still a little weird without anything being done to it. So I'm just going to go with that. I will probably bring that down just a little bit. I'm going to go into sun rays and I can place a sun perhaps even just behind. The sun was so diffused, but it sort of was about here. So I'm just going to play around with that. Am I happy with where the image is going at the moment? No, not really. In fact, I'm not that happy at all. But sometimes you have to persevere with an image to get it to where you think you want to take it. So that's playing around with the sun rays, the twilight. I can add some fog. Perhaps a little bit of fog in the background might help. It probably isn't helping greatly. I could add a little bit of haze in the background. You get those sort of warm, hazy days. Mist. I think I preferred the haze. So there's, your landscape. So I could then add a dehaze over to that, which would completely eliminate what I just put into it. I can add a little bit more golden light to it, so it's adding light all the way around. A little bit of foliage enhancer. Well, that's just a tad extreme, so I'll just take that off. Then I can look at doing things like relighting my scene, adding some mood, some tones, some things like that. So let's play around with that. Let's see if we can actually do something to this image to get it somewhere near what we want. So I'm going to perhaps brighten up the foreground just a little bit, probably too much. Dramatic. What does that do for me? It's probably too much. I might switch over to moods, and that's going to give me some lookup tables that I can play around with. So where have we got? So I've gone from here to here, which is oversaturated. The colours are all wrong. The light looks all wrong. To be honest, I'm really not that happy with where this image is going. And it all started because of my background, which is a bit strange. So let's keep going with it. Let's have a look at some lookup tables, and then if worst comes to worst, I can switch over and I can have a look at doing this in black and white. So let's have a look at some cinematic toning. That Los Angeles is sort of giving a bit of a vintage film vibe, which isn't bad. I think the Los Angeles one helps. Let's have a look at some of the other ones. So there's creative ones, portrait toning, see, this is actually taken it from something that's a bit, looks very, very fake and oversaturated. But yet, if I bring it in, and this is Rosa, if I bring it in here and start playing around, I can drop the saturation down a bit. I can boost the contrast or drop the contrast out a little bit and give it those vintage vibes. And I'm actually starting to quite like this one now. The sun is probably still too much, so if I go into edits, I can go into sun rays and I can pull that back. So I've just got a hint of sun in there. So if I go back into the mood, which is what I just did, I'm actually starting to get something that I really, really like. I'm going to go back into relight, and I'm just going to relight the front of this just a little bit. So this is where I was. This is where I am now. So it's given me a very moody image. It's given a little bit of that vintage sort of film look to it, and I've still got that gorgeous glow coming from behind with just a hint of color. Is it the world's greatest portrait? Definitely not. Is it an improvement on what we had? I think it could be, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to this image and let's have a look at doing something perhaps in black and white. Okay, so with this image, let's perhaps have a little look at going the same way that we were. So I could go into presets and have a little look at some various presets that there are. So there's some, I'm going to go into portrait. So there's some monochrome looks that we can have a look at, which give you, so that's the elegant matte, soulful, a little bit more contrast, film grain. I don't know that I really like any of them, so I'm just going to jump over to edit and I'm going to have a look at doing my own. So I'm going to click on the black and white panel to start with, and I'm going to go convert to black and white. So that has just set everything to monochrome, but I still have all of my luminance and saturation panels that I can play with. So if I want to give a little bit more brightness to the yellows, the reds, the greens, or I could darken them up, a little bit of cyan, so you can see, especially in the blues, it's made quite a difference to the skyline, and it has also done his jacket. Now, of course, I can mask in various things, but I don't mind what it has done to the skyline and behind the trees by dropping that blue out. Now the saturation, if I switch over to that, that allows me to bring some of those colors back in so that I haven't got a straight black and white image, which can give you some kind of weird, funky look sometimes. So I think you're better off sticking to luminance and adjusting it from there. I can start playing with sun rays and I can go into relight. There's other things that I could do. Mood, I could still go into mood and choose various different lookup tables. So these ones, see, look at the difference that just did then. This is in the cross processing, so that's the Tokyo, Seattle. So Tokyo sort of got a bit of a yellow through it, more of a blue or selenium. The Monterey, that's quite nice. Miami, Memphis, London. So they actually give a little bit of a, almost like a split toning in the black and white section. So it gives some beautiful toning over the top. Quite like that Memphis one. And I could just leave it there. And of course I can play around, dropping that down, adding more, the saturation. I could give it more or less. So let's have a look at where we started. And that's where I've brought it through to. And I quite like the look and feel of this image as opposed to the one that I ended up here. Same image, same light, very, very different look. It's probably a little too dark now that I am looking at it. So if I go to the develop module, I'm just going to bring the exposure up on that one. So I know today was a little bit long-winded, and I know that these probably aren't the world's greatest edits, but I persevered with it because I wanted to show you that even though you think you're going in the wrong direction with an image, sometimes you need to stop. Other times you need to keep playing and seeing where you can take it. So this was my sort of vintage desaturated edit that I ended up with in this one. And this is the moody black and white with just a hint of sort of blues and greens through it. And I really quite like where that ended up. My sky is still really non-existent, but that doesn't bother me in this particular image. It just looks like it's a soft overcast day, but I really like the details and everything that I put in this one. So sometimes you can take a photo and turn it into something a little bit better. Other times you need to stop and take a completely different direction. So it is what it is sometimes. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed and got something out of today's video. If nothing else, it allowed you to have a little look around in Luminar Neo. You can often play with the sky replacement and have better results than what I was having with these images. And perhaps I will come back at another time and do another sky replacement. I believe I've already done a couple, so they're probably in YouTube. But that's it. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.